Hey, what's up guys? Today we're going to talk about one of the strongest duos in Genshin Impact involving Yelan and Xingqiu. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the infamous double Hydra teams that have been taking the community somewhat by storm in the sense that everyone's either using it or talking about it. This synergy is really powerful because not only can you use it in many different teams with different characters that they're supporting, but also by pairing Yelan with Xingqiu and creating a double Hydra team, both of these characters will complement each other very well and will increase your overall team's DPS. And so in this video, I want to talk about how good the team actually is, its strengths and weaknesses, my thoughts on it, and with which DPSs and which general team comps you can use these two supports together. I'm also going to try to break down in as much detail as I can why I think this duo is so powerful and cover basically everything you need to know about this duo. Alright, so starting things off, let's talk about the strength of this duo and basically why it works. The biggest strength of running these two characters together is how many Hydro particles they generate for one another. Since Yelan and Xingqiu are both characters that need a lot of energy recharge, potentially upwards of 200 energy recharge depending on your team, running them together will allow you to run on much less energy recharge. Since Xingqiu's skill and Yelan's skill give you Hydro particles, and Yelan can run a Favonius War Bow, which is a very powerful weapon for her, assuming you need the energy from this bow and can utilize the extra energy that the effect will give your team, you can therefore run Yelan and Xingqiu on much less energy recharge and still get their burst back on cooldown. Because you need less ER, you can build more damage, more crit rate, more crit damage, more attack percent or HP percent for Yelan, and effectively dish out more damage. You can run a more offensive weapon on your Xingqiu instead of having to run a sacrificial sword like you do in certain teams, or if you don't have just a ton of ER in your substats, and can go for a more offensive weapon that you might have. This will allow you to deal way more damage, and the same can also be said about Yelan, although Favonius still remains a good option. In fact, if we look at the weapon rankings that I included in my Yelan guide, you can see that the one on the left here is regarding double Hydro with a lower energy recharge amount, and Favonius Warbow will actually be outclassed by certain other weapons like 5 stars or high refinement 4-star weapons that are more offensive if you do have them. While Fav is still a good option, it isn't as dominant as in the other weapon rankings where you need more ER, which basically goes to show that there's more flexibility in your weapons in this type of team. You can go for more offensive options in order to effectively dish out more damage. Fav is still a good option though, and a free-to-play one, so obviously feel free to still use it. On top of just alleviating how much ER you need though, which is a pretty big factor that will increase your damage, Yelan and Xingqiu also have more synergy with one another. First of all, as support characters, Yelan and Xingqiu have sort of passives that will increase your team's overall DPS. Xingqiu, for example, if you have his second constellation unlocked, will decrease the Hydro resistance of opponents, which will effectively increase the damage of your Xingqiu and your Yelan. On top of that, Yelan will also increase the damage of your active party member through a passive talent that is actually quite significant. When you pair this with just a really strong and high scaling kit of Yelan and Xingqiu, you have a duo that will not only help your team by applying Hydro and buffing your damage, but also dishing out a ton of damage themselves. As you can see from the footage, just running Yelan, Xingqiu, and Kazuha together, Kazuha obviously just swirling Hydro and increasing my elemental damage, will make it to where my supports are dealing insane amounts of off-field damage, even without factoring in my on-field DPS. In this clip, my Hu Tao's not even using her skill, I'm just showcasing my Hydro damage here, and as you can see, it's already insane. When you pair that with the vaporizing capabilities of someone like Hu Tao, or another carry like Xiangling, or other teams like we'll talk about later, like Xiangling, Raiden, or whatever, you basically just have a really strong core lineup of two very powerful supports that synergize well with one another. Another minor strength I wanted to mention is regarding the resonances you can get in certain teams. Many double Hydro teams that are good can run with like the Pyro Resonance, for example, which will increase the attack of all your team, as running double Hydro and double Pyro is quite strong, and you also get access to arguably the worst resonance, which is the Hydro one. Now, while the Hydro Resonance is by far the worst resonance in the game and is pretty just bad overall, the extra healing that it gives you can have some niche uses in teams where you're not running a healer. What I mean by that is, since Xingqiu gives you healing off his rain swords, right? His passive talent will give you healing when your rain swords are shattered. If you're running a team that doesn't run a healer and maybe has like just a shield, or is running like another minor form of healing like Hu Tao's burst, for example, this Hydro Resonance can actually help you survive, although it's obviously just a minor thing to consider. The main things that are strong about this team though are, as I said, the energy, the Hydro application, the damage, which is absolutely insane, especially single target and for small AoE, and also the team comps that this enables, which I will cover in great detail in this video. Before I get into every single team though, I do want to say that running two Hydros, complementing your Yelan with Xingqiu and complementing your Xingqiu with Yelan will ensure that you basically have as much Hydro as you need. You can keep up with someone like Hu Tao with ease, at least to the extent where all of your charge attacks are going to be vaporizing. And while there are other Hu Tao teams that you can run, and for example, you can just run her with Xingqiu, having another Hydro character enables certain teams that are really strong, like for example, a Hu Tao Xiangling Funeral team that wouldn't be nearly as strong without Yelan. This team therefore opens the door to new team comps that I'll cover very shortly, that are very strong in the meta, and that are definitely worth using. So with that out of the way, let's actually talk about which teams can utilize double Hydro the most efficiently, and my thoughts on them, how you should play them, them, and my overall thoughts on the teams. Now, to go into a bit more detail on these teams, we're going to start with the pyro carries. Yelan and Xingqiu together can really help enable your Hu Tao by, as I said, ensuring that you can vaporize every charge attack and apply enough hydro, but also allow you to run a very powerful support like Xiangling or Kazuha, Sucrose, or even just a shielder if you just want that. But you can have that 4th slot be an insane amount of damage. Kazuha can swirl and buff your team's overall damage. Xiangling, on the other hand, can provide you with an insane amount of pyro damage constantly spinning around you and making your team have more AoE damage while also being insane single target. While yes, there are some counter arguments, like you can run Xiangling in another team and not need to use her in this one. Surprisingly, if your Xiangling is available, running a Hu Tao Xiangling team with double hydro will be insane because you're applying enough hydro to be able to consistently vaporize a large amount of your pyro hits, and it will make your overall team's DPS very high. The same thing can be said about a team comp like this one with Kazuha or Sucrose as an Anemo support, or just a flex option, as this team is easy to play, convenient, and very high DPS. Hu Tao does have many different variations of teams, but running her with double hydro will give her the damage bonus from Yelan's passive, and 2 very powerful hydro supports that complement each other and enable you to consistently vaporize, as well as run a character like Xiangling in the last slot. On top of just that, these double hydro characters work with other pyro carries as well. You can run a Yoimiya team with 2 hydros to help support her, or you could even run a Xiangling team with double hydro for a similar reason, just Xiangling, Bennett, and then 2 hydro characters. A benefit of running this team is that you can actually drive it with your Bennett, meaning he can be the on-field sort of auto attacker, running 4-piece Crimson Witch of Flame and spamming his skill inside of his burst, also proccing some vaporizes since you're applying so much hydro, while also generating a ton of energy through your elemental skill spam for your Xiangling to get her burst back very rapidly. Now, to talk about some more teams that double hydro works in, because it's not just with pyro characters, there's honestly a lot. Like, you can run a Raiden hyper carry team with just any Anemo character, or honestly a flex slot at the end. Like, a lot of these double hydro teams are pretty flexible, but a Raiden hyper carry team with double hydro works very well. And then both your Yelan and Xingqiu will need a lot less energy recharge because your Raiden is generating energy for you, as well as I said, having 2 hydro characters who are there to generate a ton of particles. I'm a big fan of Raiden in general, so I do like this team, but there's honestly so many examples of teams that you can run. This double hydro core is just a core, as I said. It's like running Albedo and Zhongli as 2 Geos, except hydro is such a broken element that it can really fit any reaction team or just any team that needs good damage. Mono hydro is an example floating around. It's not the highest DPS, but it can work. You can also pair these hydro characters with someone like Fischl for electro charge, and it works really well. Same with Beidou, although you typically would want another electro battery for her. And in some taser teams, you won't have a healer other than Xingqiu, which is why Kokomi could work replacing Xingqiu, but that's not really the theme of this video though. But you can do this. You can run like this team with like Fischl. This is still another form of double hydro. Moving on, I did want to talk a bit about this duo's weaknesses, although there really is only one main one, and it's not even that big of a deal. What this one weakness is the fact that you're using 2 high value hydro supports, Yelan and Xingqiu, together in the same team. And so obviously if you're running 2 teams that really need a hydro support and you can't use anyone other than Yelan or Xingqiu, you want to use them in separate teams, then you won't be able to run double hydro in one team, because then you'd be losing access to Yelan and Xingqiu for that second one, right? You're using 2 in one half of the abyss, so your second half will have neither of them. With that said though, I really don't think it's that big of a deal for a few reasons. Number one, many other team archetypes would prefer some other hydro supports over Xingqiu even, like for example certain freeze teams with Ayaka or Ganyu, where you could use a support like Kokomi or Mona who could apply good hydro from off field and give your team better damage buffs. On top of that, there's even a free-to-play option like Barbara that isn't the best hydro application, but that can work for freeze and allow you to run double hydro on your other team. Usually the team comps that want Yelan or Xingqiu will typically like running double hydro as well. For example, Hu Tao or Xiangling that typically would want someone like Xingqiu and can utilize both of them very efficiently. However, obviously this is something that's very easy to play around, because basically if you can run a double hydro team like the ones I showed in this video, they're very powerful. However, overall you don't have to run double hydro if you don't have enough hydro characters, but Yelan teams do get exponentially better in my opinion, or at least a lot better when paired with Xingqiu, as they complement each other so well. With that said though, that does conclude pretty much everything I wanted to say in this video. This double hydro team, as you've seen by the footage in this video, is pretty insane. It's very easy to play, very fun, and very rewarding. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I wish I could have uploaded it sooner, but it took me a while to finish, and I actually recorded the whole thing with my webcam mic, so I had to restart. With that said, I really hope you guys liked the video. If you're new here, feel free to sub, as it does mean a lot, and you get to catch my uploads as they come out. With that said, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.